All right, everybody, welcome back to Wheellifeconnections Conversations. I'm so excited you guys are here with us again today. And this is episode 4. It's like a milestone for me to have 4 of them done already. And I'm so excited for you to hear what our guest has to say today. I'm so happy to introduce Carrie Greenwood. She and I actually met in 2016 when I competed for Miss Wheelchair America. She sits on the board for Miss Wheelchair America as the treasurer. She was actually Miss Wheelchair Kansas in 2004 and has been running the Miss Wheelchair Kansas program ever since. Her and I both share the same disability, arthrogryposis, and she's just such a rock star advocate for her community. So I'm so happy you're here today, Carrie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I touched on a little bit of all the things you do, but tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Carrie Greenwood, and I live in Topeka, Kansas. As you said, have been involved in the Miss Wheelchair organization for a really long time. I was Miss Wheelchair Kansas 2004 and was an independent delegate. So that meant that I took over started the program, I should say, in 2004 and have been the state coordinator ever since. I am the treasurer for Miss Wheelchair America. And then that's actually my volunteer positions. My real job during the day is that I work for an organization, a nonprofit organization called the Kansas Youth Empowerment Academy. And so what we do there is we serve youth with disabilities throughout our state. So with that, I get to work with youth. And then with Miss Wheelchair, I get to work with adult women with disabilities and young ones too. We have a young program in our state as well. So all of that keeps me very busy, and I am a proud person with a disability. I have arthrogryposis like you, and I love to educate people, and I'm excited to answer your questions today. So
That's awesome. That is so awesome. I love that you're about just as involved and crazy busy as I am. That makes me so
yeah.
excited because people think I'm crazy, and I'm like, I love when other people are as busy as I am. That's awesome.
I know. It's fun. It's a lot, but it's fun.
It is. That's what I always say. I just live by the motto, it's so much fun. Exactly.
Absolutely. Sure.
So I'm going to ask you a couple questions about kind of your intro there and what you talked about. So how did you get into Miss Wheelchair Kansas?
So years ago, back in 2004, I had never heard about this program before. I had no idea that there was a Miss Wheelchair and things like that. And I just happened to be on the internet one day and came across Miss Wheelchair America and was pretty intrigued. Like I said, I hadn't heard anything before about this. And it caught my attention. I'm a fairly girly person. So, that was kind of the initial like, oh, this is really cool. But I also have always been very much about, like I said, educating people. And I love meeting other strong women with disabilities. And so, looking into it more and realizing that Miss Wheelchair is about being an advocate and being a spokesperson and being celebrated for your accomplishments. And so once I found that out, I definitely knew that it was something I wanted to be a part of. But of course, at the time, Kansas didn't have a program. And so I learned that the way to get that started was to be an independent delegate and start it on my own. Not on my own. I eventually obviously formed a team, and that's initially how I got Miss Wheelchair Kansas started. And then, oh gosh, quite a few years ago, I was encouraged to be on the board and started as member at large on the Miss Wheelchair America board, and then have been the treasurer for quite a few years now too. So I tend to stick with things when I start them. I tend to stick with them, but I love being involved. So
that's awesome. So just so we can make sure our viewers know, because I don't think a lot of people know about the Miss Wheelchair organization, and I absolutely love the organization. It literally had kind of broken me out of my shell to be that advocate that I just was like, there's 25 women my year, and we're all in wheelchairs, and we're all in the same city, and we're all going to the same locations at the same time. It was probably the coolest experience ever.
yeah.
So just a little background on Miss Wheelchair America, kind of when it started and how many states do we have represented this year?
Yeah, so Miss Wheelchair America actually started in 1972, so it's been around for quite a long time. And so it's an advocacy and empowerment program for women who use wheelchairs. And it's about selecting title holders in each state that are going to represent women who are wheelchair users, but also just the disability community in general, and go around and do presentations and meet with people and make appearances and advocate and be a mentor as well. We really have an increase in numbers this year because we have quite a few independent delegates. I want to say we have 38 states represented right now. I'm not 100% sure if I have that number right, but people can always go to the Miss Wheelchair America website, and that has a full listing of what states are represented currently. So
we'll make sure we share the website too. I just think it's such an amazing organization and more people need to know about it. I think one day it should just be televised, on every news channel because I think it's a great opportunity. So
yeah.
I definitely want more people to hear about it and know about it because there's probably one in their state and they don't even know that the program exists. So it would be great to share that. So we'll make sure we share the link. So that's awesome. And then you work with youth as well, correct?
I do.
Was that started through, were you one of the youth originally and then became part of the organization, or how did that work for you?
Yeah, I was. So when I was graduating high school, I learned about a program called the Kansas Youth Leadership Forum, and there are youth leadership forums all across the United States. And so this was a week-long leadership program for high school students with disabilities, and I was very shy at the time, but I had kind of that little spark, I guess you could say, of knowing that I wanted to meet more people with disabilities. I wanted to get more involved. I just never really had the chance to do that in school. I didn't go, I was in mainstream classes and all that. So I just wasn't around a lot of people with disabilities. And so this was a program specifically for high school students with disabilities. And so I definitely knew it was something I wanted to do. So I attended that program right after I graduated high school. Way back in 2001, and it changed my life. It just really impacted me in a huge way and introduced me to the disability community, which I really hadn't ever thought about either. And so from there, after I went through that program, I started volunteering. It was just that one program in the beginning. And so I started volunteering, and then that became kind of a part-time job for me. And then I actually was able to help with other people start the nonprofit, the Kansas Youth Empowerment Academy, in 2005. So the Youth Leadership Forum in our state became a full nonprofit organization for youth with disabilities. And so now I'm the program coordinator for our organization, and I get to coordinate the Youth Leadership Forum that I first was impacted by, as well as other programs too. So we have multiple programs within KYA that we work with youth in. So that's kind of how I started with it. And I've stayed with it all these years because I love what I do, and I love being able to make an impact, but the youth teach me a lot as well. So
that's for sure. That is for sure. That's awesome though. I like how you were the youth at first and now you get to teach the youth. I just think that full circle is such a neat impact.
yeah.
So let's back up a little bit further in life. So growing up with a disability, you use a wheelchair full time, correct?
For the most part, yeah, I am able to use a walker a little bit like at home and stuff. But yes, in the community, I definitely use a wheelchair all the time.
Okay. So growing up with a disability, what was that like? Was there any experiences with bullying or any access that was kind of different from when you were younger to now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. First off, with bullying, I honestly have a really positive story to tell, and I'm really, really thankful that I do. I really was not bullied a whole lot. I do think that for me, a piece of that was that I grew up with the classmates that I had. We were in school together from pretty much, I was in the same district from fourth grade and up through high school. So, people, they knew about me, at least. They knew that I was in their classes and that I could talk. And, so there wasn't, I guess, as much fear maybe of who is she and why does she look that way? And I mean, I know there were questions and things like that, but my classmates treated me really, really great. And so I didn't have a whole lot of bullying when I was in school. But, I know that's not always the case with people. Working with youth, I see bullying happen all the time. So I just feel really blessed that I have a good experience to tell. As far as access goes, I think when I was really little, my dad would carry me a lot of places. So, at that time, I didn't really have to think about it a whole lot because he would just pick me up and we'd go wherever. But, as the years went on, definitely you start to notice like, oh, I can't get in this place, or, oh, there's no elevator in this building, or, just different things like that. And as I'm 36 now. So as I get even older, and I'm very independent, you notice those things even more because I am by myself some. And so there's not always someone there to open a door when there's not a power door or things like that. So over the years, I definitely have noticed it more. But when I was young, my school was really good. I did change districts. Like I said, when I went into fourth grade, and the district that I moved into was wonderful. They were very accommodating. The high school even put in a power door on this one side of the school that I needed and things like that. So they were very, very accommodating to me.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
talking about bullying, I kind of have the similar story. So I didn't really experience bullying as a child, and that's definitely a blessing as well. But probably because I grew up with the same kids as well. I was the same
Right.
kid in every grade. And once they asked a question, then I just said, that's exactly how I do it. Then they were like, okay, all right, moving on. So it kind of it's different. But I noticed as I got older that the adult population did more of the bullying than when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So have you noticed any or experienced anything like that? Like I've had people say so many times, like, oh my gosh, you're never going to be able to get anywhere. You can't do that. You can't do this. And I was like, okay, so I never got bullied when I was little, but it feels a little bit different as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Which is so sad. I mean, that's crazy that we have to say that. But yeah, I mean, adults can be, yeah, they can be bullies for sure. Yeah, I think, I can't say as an adult I've had people like outright bully me, but I definitely think that a lot of times people make assumptions about me. You have certain perceptions that, like you said, like I can't do certain things, or I get a lot, people are shocked by the fact that I have a job. And to me, it's like, well, yeah, I have a job. I mean, it's not ever something that was an option. Just my parents, they raised me to know that just like my sister who doesn't have a physical disability, you're going to go to college and you're going to get a job and, those kinds of things. So I definitely have a lot of where I see people's perceptions that are kind of distorted of people with disabilities and what we do. So, and just I think I recently moved out on my own, and I think people sometimes I just did that. So this is kind of a new thing for me, but I think people probably thought, well, how in the world are you going to do that? And I'm doing it. So it's all about showing people that you can do it. I can't necessarily pinpoint a time when someone just outright said you can't do this, but I definitely know that people in their mind are thinking like you can't do that, or how are you going to do that, or I don't know if you can really do that. Those kinds of things I think is more probably what I experience more than maybe just outright bullying per se, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely depends on the situation and circumstance and kind of, where you're at in life and things like that. But it's just a lot different. Once we get to a certain age, it seems like there's so many more assumptions that are made than questions that are asked. So,
Yeah.
a child's so open to be like, why do your hands look like that? How do you use your wheelchair? Why
Yeah.
don't you walk? What's wrong with your feet? And it's something you laugh a little bit about and then you answer the
Yeah.
question as best you can so that they understand it. But when you become
Hmm.
an adult, it's like, I can't ask them that question. So I'm just going to assume this is how it is. But
Hmm.
when really, in my opinion, I'm more like, please ask me because I'd rather you ask me than assume something totally incorrect. So it's
Absolutely.
different. And obviously times change and, everything is getting to be a little bit more open and people are being more honest about things. But it's just interesting to kind of see the timeline and kind of how it shifts around. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I love that you said you moved in. So you bought a house because I remember
Hmm.
seeing it on Facebook, and so now you live more independently, right?
I
And
do.
are there like accommodations or modifications and kind of ways to get around your house that you've adapted to so that you can be more independent at home?
Yes, for sure. So I bought a duplex for myself. It's the perfect size for me. So yeah, well, when I'm always the kind of person that I make a plan when I'm going to do something. And so, for a year or so, I worked to kind of make a plan and figure out what I needed to really live as independently as I can. So, of course, I have personal care attendants that come in throughout the day. I have multiple shifts throughout the day and I have probably about 5 personal care attendants that work for me. And so, they're obviously my biggest accommodation. But as far as my house goes, so I was able to use a lot of resources to be able to pay for different things. Things can be expensive, obviously, when you're wanting accommodations. So was able to get a ramp into my house, first of all. Of course, I have to get into it. And so a ramp was built into the entrance that's in my garage. So that's how I get in my house. And then once I'm in my house, the duplex that I bought is basically one level, so I don't necessarily have to worry about that very much. I do have an unfinished basement, and with that, we were able to buy a chair, a stair lift kind of thing. I think that's the right term for it, where you sit in it and it takes you down, up and down the stairs. So I've got that for whenever we have tornadoes. It's just Kansas, so you never know when a tornado is going to come along. I have that, and then I also have I have smart bulbs, so I can use my phone to turn the lights on and off. I have a smart thermostat, so I can control that from my phone. Just little things like my dad built kind of like a shelf table thing that is in my kitchen where I can just pull my chair up to it. And that's kind of like my table that I can use for different things. I bought a really tall table that I can use when I'm in my wheelchair. So just little things like that I purchased to make life a little bit easier for me. Oh, one of the bigger things too that I got some resources to pay for was I had to do a lot of remodeling on my bathroom. So they put in a roll-in shower, kind of opened up my closet area and things like that so my wheelchair could get in. So that was a pretty big part of the process too. Obviously, you have to get in your bathroom. So I think that's about the most of the accommodations. I have a Ring doorbell on my front door so that I can, access that on my phone. So a lot of it is technology, and some of it's just kind of architectural and removing some of those barriers. So
That's really neat. I think it's encouraging to see that you've overcome and kind of gotten to this point in life, because a lot of times people get discouraged with, I probably can't live on my own because I can't get in the bathroom by myself, or I can't get in the front door because there is a step. And just the little things that you put in your house, I can't turn on the lights personally. I can't reach any switch unless I use my forehead. And so I can reach so many of them. And so I have an Amazon Alexa, and all I do is say, Alexa, turn on the living room light.
Right.
But before those things came around, it was, okay, what can I use to whack the light switch on the wall? But I think that's so cool how there's so many more adaptive and creative ways that we can get so we can be more independent. And I think that's awesome. So congrats on your new house. That is so exciting.
Thank you. It's exciting. I mean, it was quite a process, and honestly, I always knew that the architectural barriers and things like that I could find ways to work with that. For me, the scariest part was just I've used personal care attendants throughout my life in different ways, but having to really hire a team of people and have them coming in my house every day, and that part for me was probably the scariest. And it's one of the reasons why I waited so long. And that's, it's just me getting over my own things, to say, this is just what I'm going to have to do. This is my life. So it's taken some adjusting too, but I feel really good about being fully independent now. So
that's so cool. I love that. Oh, it makes me so excited. I am ready to go buy my own house. No, I'm just kidding.
You should do it.
For life around here. I just apartment jump every year. It's crazy, but that's so cool though. That's awesome. So let's see. We answered a lot of the questions I already had pre-planned just by talking. So that's what I did that for. That's great. So let's shift a little bit. So obviously you love going out and advocating. You obviously are working hard with a full-time job, getting a new house and just really being that person that's such a role model. But who's a role model for you? Do you have somebody that you look up to, or somebody who you're kind of like, yep, that's the attitude they have, that's the attitude I'm gonna have? Like, is there that person for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I definitely have multiple role models. My mom, of course, is my first and foremost biggest role model. She's always been, my whole family is so extremely supportive. And I'm the person I am today because of my family and the way that my parents raised me. And, just never really let my disability stop me, when I was younger. They didn't hide me. They didn't, it was just like, this is who Carrie is, and we're just going to do what we have to do. So I definitely credit my family for who I am. But my mom, for sure, she's such a selfless person. I mean, before moving out on my own, of course, she was basically the person helping me every day with my personal care. And so she's definitely sacrificed a lot for me. And she's just such a good person. She's a kind person. She's a patient person. So I definitely for sure look up to my mom. But then, being involved in Miss Wheelchair has very much given me the opportunity to meet so many amazing women, as I know that you know. And so, there are multiple people that I've met through that organization that I truly, truly look up to. The title holder, the person that won the national title the year that I went to nationals, Juliet Rizzo. I haven't talked to her in forever, but she still, for me, is one of those people that I just truly look up to. She's so independent, so active. She doesn't let anything stop her. And even more recently, Karen Roy won the national title a couple of years ago, and I very much look up to her as well. So just strong women who, obviously, when someone uses a wheelchair, I at least identify with them on that level, but then also adding to that how strong they are, how articulate they are, how independent they are. And it's like, that's what I want to be. And I think to an extent I am that, but I want to be that even more, as I grow older. So them, and, there's people in my personal life, my friend Julia, I've always looked up to her very much for how independent she is, how strong-willed she is. There's a couple ladies in my life that I look up to very much for how they live their faith. So that's another part of, why I look up to certain people, just living their faith every day and being, not just being a Christian, but living a Christian life on a daily basis. That's really important to me too. So those are just kind of some of the people that I look up to.
That's awesome. I love that. So my role model probably is my mom, hands down too, but
Yeah.
it's so different. I would assume, I can't see, this is where assumptions could be bad, but it's different when you grow up in a home where everybody's like, nope, you're not any different. Like, you want to play in the sandbox with your brother and sister? Okay, let me just drop you in there and you figure out how to play in it. And I was like, I don't want to touch the sand. I don't want to do it. But
Yeah.
it's just like, I didn't know any different. That's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to play,
Exactly.
just like a little kid with my brother, same as, with your sister. So
Yeah.
it makes such a difference, and I think it makes more of an impact. I know it did for me, because I didn't feel different either. I was like, oh, I'm fine. Yep, my brother just duct taped me to my chair. It's cool. Just how life is. So, like, it was, brother sisterly love. That's just how it was. But
Uh-huh.
I just think it's
That's
fun to
awesome.
see kind of where the role model question goes, because there's not a lot of individuals that look like us that are like role models, like Beyonce, or somebody
Mm-hmm.
like on TV who's an actor or plays in a movie, or we don't, those role models are hard to come by. And when you find one, it's really awesome because you get so excited. But it's more exciting when they're authentically in a wheelchair and not
Right.
if they're in a wheelchair. So
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
it's starting to change more now with TV and media and things like that, and having people with disabilities be those star
Mm-hmm.
actors and things like that. But
Yeah.
for me personally, it's people's attitudes and how much of an impact they make and how they live their life independently is more of the role model concept that I also look up to. So it's really neat.
Yeah.
Uh, so you're super positive and love to have a lot of fun, and you smile all the time like I do. So
Yeah, you're practically my twin, Sarah. I mean,
just dyed my hair, we probably would look alike. But So, how do you keep your positive attitude? Because with everything that's going on in the world today, and when things don't go right, people get really upset, and sometimes it can take a turn for the worse. But it's really difficult to then turn it into something positive and kind of keep moving forward. So, how do you keep that positive? I can do this no matter what kind of attitude.
Hmm. You know, I guess I would say, why not be positive? And I've always just kind of been this way. It's just kind of who I am. But again, like I said, my parents kind of just raised me to be this way. But I just feel like I'm so blessed. I mean, God has given me so many amazing things in my life. I have a wonderful family. I have friends. I have a job. I have a volunteer job that I love. I have a house now of my own. I have a van. I'm able to drive. Like, there's so many things to be thankful for. And so that obviously gives me the foundation to be happy and to be glad for what I have. But I think also, as I've gotten older, I've been able to just become the person I want to be, I guess you could say. So, um, I've become comfortable with who I am, and proud of who I am. And I think when you can get that confidence in yourself, it helps you to kind of look at life in a different way. And so that's definitely helped me over the years too. Although I would say I've probably always been a pretty smiley, happy person. But I love life. I mean, life is amazing. There's so many things to experience. And again, my faith is really important to me. So I really feel like, God has put me here for a reason, and I am the way I am for a reason too. I mean, I think some people are like, oh, I have a disability. This sucks. And, why did this have to happen? And there might be moments when I might say that to myself, but in an overall sense, I know that I am who I am meant to be. This is who Carrie is. And so God has given me so much. And so my faith also helps me to be positive and to just kind of make sure that I'm making the most of every day. And that's just what I want to do. I want to make the most of every day because life is short. We're seeing that on TV, and I understand that there's a lot of crappy stuff going on in our world right now, honestly. And so it doesn't mean that, I am a positive person, but that doesn't mean that I don't realize that there's some things in our world that need to change for sure. So I just think that, it's good to be an advocate, and it's good to share your voice. You can be positive, but you also have to think about, okay, how can I use who I am and my attitude to make a positive impact on this world? And so I hope that people are able to do that and use their voice for good, I guess you would say. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so coincidentally, the word believe is right behind your head on the wall. So
oh, you actually can see that. There you go.
there's just a little bit more positivity to add to the video. That's so cute. Perfect spot to sit.
Yeah, I guess I didn't even do that on purpose, but
It was put there for a reason. So that's
exactly.
awesome. So we'll kind of wrap up here, but I absolutely love just the experiences you've had and the time that you're able to share with us. Is there something? So let's backtrack. So Wheellifeconnections I built in 2018. And
Mhm.
the goal was to kind of eliminate the gap between those inside and outside the disability community because
Mhm.
there are assumptions made and sometimes it creates more space than it does togetherness between us.
Mhm.
And so is there any advice or tips or any kind of experience or story that you have to tell that helps to bridge that gap and kind of makes that uncomfortability become more comfortable so that we can all become better together?
Mhm. Um, I think the biggest thing that I always tell people when I'm doing like etiquette trainings and all that is just to know that we are people too. We are human beings, just like everyone else. We might have some extra equipment, we might need a little extra help with different things throughout the day, but people with disabilities are people first. We're human beings with likes and dislikes, and um, goals and fears and like all those things that everyone else has. We have that too. And we can talk, and you know, we want to have conversations with people, and we want to be active. So I want people to know that having a disability is, first of all, it doesn't make us that much different. But it's also not a bad thing. I don't see it as a bad thing. I just see it as a part of who I am. So I encourage people to open their minds. I encourage people to ask questions like we were talking about before. Don't just wonder. Don't just stare at me. Ask a question. Get to know me. Get to know people's story. Everyone has a story, and I think that we need to just get to know everyone's story, and that I think helps us to come together more. When you know someone's story, you know something about them, you've had a conversation with them, it helps you to realize that you're not that much different from that person next to you. So treat us like you treat anyone else. Get to know us, and include us. Inclusion is really important. So be aware that people with disabilities want to be included, and we want to be a part of everything that's going on. So that's something else I think that's really important for people to know too. So I think that those would be some of the main things that I would say.
Perfect. Well said. And I think today you shared your story. So it will bring even more people together, the more stories that are heard. So I thank you so much, Carrie, for being a part today. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about or that I didn't ask that you'd like to end with before we go?
Um, it's Arthrogryposis Awareness Month.
Right.
So that's something else. I just encourage people to maybe learn about this disability. There's multiple people on Facebook that have it, that are doing all kinds of like videos. And I posted a video about Princess Anna the other day. I don't know if you've seen her, but I love her. So I just, yay for arthrogryposis. I really am very proud to be not only a person with a disability, but a person with arthrogryposis. And I just think it's really cool to connect with other people with my disability. That's just a really neat thing to be able to connect on that level. So so just learn about it. If anyone that's out there that wants to know more about it, there's a lot of information out there. And if anyone wants to know more about me or my story or my disability, people can contact me anytime. So I'm very open to answering questions and being a resource for people, really. So
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that we share social media pages and things like that for you so that they can get in contact with you. And yes, please don't forget it's Arthrogryposis Awareness Month. So you better make sure that Carrie and my social media is all blue on June 30th. So make sure you wear your blue, because I'm sure her and I will be wearing way more than just a blue shirt. So we normally go all out. I normally drink blue drinks and everything. It's just a good.
Wow.
This is the day we wear blue for Arthrogryposis Awareness. And I'm just so excited to have you. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate everything and all the insight that you shared, as well as your story. I know that it has going to have impact on a lot of people. And so just keep going and keep impacting people, because you are making a difference. And sometimes I don't think that gets said enough to us. So you definitely are making a difference. I am now ready to be like, yep, Carrie is my role model. I need to start the game. So I just love that we're able to connect again. And I will make sure that everybody gets your information as well. So thank you guys for watching today. Again, if you have questions, please let us know, and we will see you in blue on the 30th of June. Thanks so much, guys.